Gavin Newsom's like, yeah, I know, I agree with you. It's not a genocide, but I can see why they would call it one. Why can you see why they would call it one, Gavin? Is it because all the genocide experts are calling it one, and you are the one that's not calling it one? I know. Liberals are the ones that's not calling it one. And again, we go back to the whole. They would call it. I have been playing nice, Carter. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of. I've been playing nice with liberals. Okay, I have been trying to do this big fucking tent thing. Okay, I get it. I understand, but it is a fucking joke now when we talk about the amount of votes that our leaders have gone with Republicans, the amount of times they folded on ICE funding, the amount of times they folded on shutting down the government. Every time they've had leverage, they've given it up for nothing. For nothing. And Hassan Piker's message has been the same since 2019. It hasn't changed.
Honestly, before that, even
it's been
like I want to say he's gone. No, like that's literally the only thing I was gonna say is like he's been saying this same shit since like back when he was doing like agitprop on TYT, like before he even left TYT. Yeah. Like the position hasn't changed. Like it's not. Absolutely. Like, go ahead.
And the thing is, like. If you were to kind of wrap up everything that you said, which you said it really well, it's hard for me to add anything. There's a lack of inspiration in this party, dude. Like there is no one that's inspirational. The people that are inspirational win New York City. Okay, like that's the difference, right? If you go see how Zoran ran his campaign, that is an inspirational candidate. People were excited to show up to vote. That is the crux of it to me. And again, we can go back to Kamala Harris. I know liberals hate talking about it unless they want to just complain like, oh, I'll never forgive people that like, I just see that in comment sections. And it's like, you guys need to wake the fuck up because you're walking right into the same buzzsaw, right? Which is people have been telling you they weren't going to vote for Kamala Harris. And the same people, okay, because Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom share the same pool of voters, right? They're both like, they're the same. They're going to have the same, they're going to have to coalesce around one of them. They're both not going to survive whatever the primary season is, right? It's going to be one or the other, and they're going to cannibalize each other's votes. The same people who were telling you that Kamala is going to have issues in the general are telling you, since Gavin even mentioned the idea of running for president, that he is going to have the same problems because he is not inspirational. Like he is selling himself to Republicans just like Kamala Harris did.
Right.
Like this is supposed to be the party that's learning. And I just want to prepare all my progressive and leftist friends who are not ready yet for the barrage of identity politics you're about to face. Not just with people like Jasmine Crockett, not just with like people like Kamala Harris, okay? Because any kind of critique, just like Israel, they called you anti-Semitic. Anytime you critique Israel, they're going to do the same thing to you with all these other candidates, right? And it's important now, and the last thing I just want to say is important now to be ready for the barrage of identity bullshit, because some of the things that I'm starting to see now that I've never seen in the past, this is new to me even, is that it is white privilege. It is white privilege if you don't, or a privileged position. Okay, actually, I have seen some of this, but the super privileged position is not falling in line, voting blue, no matter who. And again, I want to remind you guys why we are here today. Okay, we're not here today because we didn't vote blue, no matter who. I don't know anyone that didn't vote blue no matter who, for the most part, right? Like for the most part. But ultimately, if I sit here and I tell you I represent a cohort, I represent a demographic, and I look you in the face and I say, I'm not going to vote for anyone that takes AIPAC money, right? That's just like a simple thing. I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to vote for anyone, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Martian. I'm not going to vote for them if they take AIPAC money. Now, whose puzzle is that to figure out? Is it my puzzle? Is yelling at me, screaming at me for telling you that going to help you solve your puzzle? Your puzzle is to convince me. Your puzzle is to sell me on this idea. And now our liberal overlords, the same ones who wouldn't vote blue no matter who was on Mamdani, mind you, would not endorse him. None of our leaders. At the very last second, Hakeem Jeffries endorsed him when it was already fucking over, right. Okay? And then what do I see today? I see Andrew Cuomo's chief of staff on Fox News telling Fox News listeners that Bernie Sanders and the Bernie-crats are too far left. They're not electable in the general election. Do you know why Andrew Cuomo's chief of staff is on Fox fucking News saying that? Because she would get filleted on MSNBC. She would get filleted on any leftist liberal show. The only place that message works is Fox News. That's where Andrew Cuomo's people are right now. They're not on MSNBC. Gavin Newsom is not on MSNBC. He's not on Majority Report on talking to Hassan. He is talking to Ben Shapiro. That's supposed to be the liberal, the white savior, you know? So shit, before I go too crazy on Gavin, but it's like people have been telling you they're not going to vote for him. Like, you have to look at it strategically, objectively. Like, they're telling you they're not inspired by him. So what are you going to do? Are you going to keep trying to shame them into doing it? Or are you going to try to be inspirational for once in your fucking life?
Yeah, and I think the thing is just like, we can't like accept we got to stick to our guns, man. Like that's the real thing, is like, you have to actually stick to your guns. You have to remember that like, it does not matter what you see in mainstream media outlets. Like you have to tune all that shit out, right? You have to like actually separate yourself and go out and like touch fucking grass and listen to real people and meet them in like in the sunshine, right? And have a genuine conversation with them. Go issue by issue. Don't talk about like Marxist theory or any shit like that, because like, you got to remember that these people have been like propagandized by Redbait for like generations. So instead, you have to take a totally different path, right? And this is something that I deal with when I go and like, if I go to like a construction site and I got to work with a bunch of dudes that like I know are probably like, you know, fucking Porky's pilled and like whatever. And like the thing is, a lot of these dudes are like in this particular instance, but just people in general, right? If you actually start talking to them about like specific issues and then discussing like, well, like, let's talk about like the policy that like how do you like have a discussion about like what you think they would want to see happen in the government in order to implement that. And then they say some crazy bullshit and then you counter it, but you don't do it by being like, well, are you saying that you hate black people or something? Like, don't do that. Don't do that, because that's going to get them all up in their feelings, and then it's just going to turn into the same culture war bullshit that always happens. You like, and this is something that I've said before, is like, people need to like the one lesson that I really wish people on the left would like take to heart, right? Because this is serious shit, right? This is about like the long-term implications of whatever we do next. Is like, you got to learn to sit with your discomfort. We live in like the most one of the most insanely right-wing propagandized countries on the planet. So like, remember your audience and like know that like whatever you understand, whatever you've internalized, whatever you've come to realize, like that is probably sort of a minority like understanding, right? That's because people may like tacitly feel and understand this stuff, but they're so focused on like making sure that they can afford the next round of groceries or whatever, that they're not like super steeped in like the philosophy or like any of the political theory that actually gets them to that point. Like, you have to be a total fucking politics nerd like Arya or me in order to like actually get to that point, right? So the thing about it is like, if that's the case, then what you need to do is you need to like hold your discomfort with the fact that you are talking to somebody that has a whole lot of just like insanely atrocious positions. And you have to sort of like measure yourself and then step by step walk them through and be like, oh, like, I think this, but you think this. I wonder what made us like have such different understandings. Like, what was your life like? Connect with that person. start to try and understand like what life experiences they had that led them to that point, and then maybe try and just like illustrate to them like an alternate way to look at it. You're not like telling them how to think, you're offering them an alternative to the narrative that they have. And that's like the best mechanism that I've ever been able to find in terms of just like a one-on-one conversation to get somebody to like actually, you know, take one little like shuffle step towards class consciousness. That's the best mechanism that I've ever encountered. So like that's the thing is like, you know, like there's a guy that I work with and he told me that like he had somebody come by his door that was like campaigning for Kamala or whatever, and she literally started yelling at him like, oh, you're just a nasty Trumper, and like he literally got into a fight with a campaign worker. Like, you can't fucking do that shit, dude. Like, that is the type of stuff that you gotta like, you learn to rein that in, right? You have to like, and I'm not trying to insinuate that everybody who does campaign work behaves in that way, but the point is that like whoever that was is so incensed by whatever like liberal or even progressive media that they consume that they themselves have become reactionary. That like the left is not immune to reactionary impulses, just the same as the right is not immune to a reactionary impulse. And that is the part that you have to like on your own check. You cannot control how anybody else acts or behaves or thinks in this world. The only thing you can control is yourself and how you respond to it. So like that's like, I know, big tirade, and I don't want to like talk down to people, but it's not about that. I'm not trying to like speak down to anybody. I'm trying to genuinely offer like an alternate path. And I speak in this way because I try to like not assume any level of like ignorance or stupidity in any of my audience that like ever comes across any of my content, right? Like none of you are stupid. You guys can figure this stuff out. It's not that hard. Just like take a step back and like try and like take a deep breath and be like, okay, like is what I'm doing actually gonna like produce any result? You know what I mean? Like you don't scream at your boss to give you a raise, right? You have to come up with a strategy if you want to ask for more money from your boss. So like use that type of like mindset when you're walking into these kinds of situations and work with it that way. But like make no mistake, I have no problem just like chiding the liberals. As far as like a group that like I see no problem like vehemently going after is them, because the liberals, unlike the conservatives, are capable of feeling shame. Like that is like when they say, oh, well, you got to shame all the Republicans or you got to shame the conservatives. Like that's kind of projection. The Republicans don't respond to that. They like it. They enjoy it. Right? Like they're all cucks, right? They all like literally get off on being ashamed. Like it's like a weird backwards wiring that makes them like feel good in a way. But like the liberals don't necessarily think that way. They are like not impervious to shame.
I'm not so sure anymore.
Maybe some of them, you know what I mean?
I'm not so sure about that
like,
anymore.
But again, like I'm not talking about necessarily politicians that show up on the news, right? Or like people that are like putting themselves out there, right? People that have this sort of like.
And I don't think you can't see my chat. There's someone saying like, there's a guy who I think there's someone who's probably not ideologically or I don't even want to assume it's a guy. It's just a person in my chat that is not ideologically
I see it.
aligned with us, perhaps.
I see it.
And
it's okay.
And this person is just, and I want to tell them, and I think, and I don't want to speak for you, but when you're saying Republicans, and I have to do this in my own messaging, is that like, you're not inherently talking about like your neighbors, like all of them, right? You're talking about like the politicians that are representative right now, like the ones that are screaming in front of the committees on, you know, like that's what I'm guessing is what you're talking about. I want to clarify to like
no. That's that is a good distinction to make. That like I am not talking about like you don't speak to your fucking neighbors this way, right? Like that is not the context in which you do this. You speak to somebody who like holds a position of power and puts themselves in front of the public eye in a way that they are trying to capture like attention, right? People that are like sort of like narcissistic or sociopathic in nature. Like this is not how you speak to regular people. And just anybody that's trying to get through their fucking day, don't talk to them like that. Like don't do that. Don't denigrate them. You know what I mean? Like that's not the case. Like in the words of Michael Brooks, you be kind to people and you be ruthless with power, right? Like that is the baseline.
Like, bro, that's a fucking killer. That's a killer quote, bro. Right. Holy shit.
That is the way you boil this down. is that when it comes to somebody who is wielding power, that person, like, if you are a politician, and I would extend this to any of our progressive reps as well, and I've said this to progressive reps too. I'm like, look, like, you get in power, understand that, like, you are putting yourself in potential line of fire of my criticism because you have chosen to become a tool for us, the people. Politicians are tools. That is what they do. They are out there to serve the people. So, like, at that point, they have made a, like, executive choice in their own mind to abdicate or separate their personality, their actual individual experience as a human being, from their occupation, which is a servant of the people. That is it. That is the choice that person made. And once you cross that divide, you have to accept the good with the bad that comes with it. And that means you have to be able to, like, that politician needs to set aside their own personal feelings and accept whatever criticism is going to be coming at them. Just the same way as Arya or I being on this platform right now, putting our faces out here, putting our voices out here, have to deal with the fact that there's going to be, like, chuds in the chat sometimes that are going to be saying a bunch of dumb shit. And we just have to be like, fuck off, bro. Like, that's that, you can't let that emotional portion dictate your actual, like, material actions in the real world. There has to be a certain degree of division there. And like, this is nuanced. You know what I mean? It's not a simple shotgun blast. This is like precision sniping here. Like, you have to really, like, actually take the time and breathe your way through it. That's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm. A true gamer terminology there. Listen, like, you're right. I mean, you got to pick your battles. You're absolutely right there. You have to pick your battles. And I think there is, like, I think it's becoming clearer and clearer on a daily basis that this is not, like, party related, right? Like, again, going based on what Paige was saying, like, in that interview, like, for someone who, and I'm not saying I'm, like, the only person on earth that studied the Middle East, but, like, this is part of, like, my I have a master's and it's my field of study. I know, like, the history of Gaza and the Middle East more than the average person. Let's say I wouldn't even consider myself an expert, whatever. But after 9/11, after October 7th, the amount of vitriol, the amount of absolute, like, I'm saying, like, some of the worst shit that I have been called or I have seen said publicly against people that are anti-genocide, you know, anti-Zionist, has come from liberals.
Right.
I'm going to be completely straightforward and honest. Like, I'm not lying. And maybe it's because I don't speak to a lot of people who are generally MAGA, not because I don't want to, not because I don't, but because it's just, I spend a lot of time organizing with people that are ideologically similar to me, or so I think.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it was so fucking lonely for a while. You know, it's not, now it's the popular position, thankfully, that, like, being anti-genocide is, like, the popular position within both parties right now. But there is this thing that I want to keep telling people who are just now maybe coming to grips with the things that we've been talking about, which is, like, this kind of class war and not this party war, is that, like, Democrats are functionally, okay, you can make an argument that they wouldn't be going around rounding us up on the streets, but they're voting to let them do that. Like, they're voting affirmatively on a lot of the things that are enabling them to do that. Like, the same bombs, I want you guys, I'll paint you guys a picture. Like, when a bomb drops on Gaza under the Biden administration, okay, it's dropping with an LGBTQ flag on it.
Right.
Okay. When a bomb is dropping from a Republican administration, it's dropping with their signatures on it. There is no functional difference. That bomb is still killing the same amount of fucking people, guys. You know, like, it's still doing the same amount of damage. And again, you see what the Democratic Party has become every election cycle when they move further to the right and lose voters, because, again, people want contrast. Republicans have people to vote for, okay? Like, like, again, when you talk about strategy, at least, right? Because it's one thing we can talk about morality. We can debate whatever, but let's just talk about strategy. You want to win elections? If I was a magic 8-ball that had the magic of giving you pure sound strategy of winning an election, I can fucking guarantee you the very bottom of that list of advice I'd give you is sending Liz Cheney to Dearborn, Michigan with Kamala Harris. It's probably like the very last piece of advice I'd give you to win this election. If we went through a million other pieces, that's the very last one, just the last thing that we would fucking try.
Send the offspring of Dick fucking Cheney to one of the most populous Muslim cities in the United States of America and see how well that fucking works for us. Like, what kind of brain rot does it take to think that's a good idea? Right? Like, I'm sorry. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, and look, the people in Yemen do not give a shit whether the president that decided to drop bombs on them was a Republican or a Democrat. They hate the United States either way. This isn't tough to think about, guys. Like, this is very, very simple stuff, right? It's like the inner machinations of this country have very little to do with how the rest of the world sees us. All they see is just this like completely schizophrenic nation of morons that seems to shoot themselves in the foot every few years, to a point where now, like, the BRICS nations just engaged in a new agreement. And it was Lula da Silva that basically set up a new situation where they are now trading outside of the SWIFT system. So like, and it's small transactions. It's not a whole lot. But damn it if the internet didn't start out real fucking small, guys. Like, this is the end of American hegemony throughout the world, and like, you're just not seeing it yet. Maybe like to whatever degree you think, but like, make no mistake, this empire is falling, and it's because of the dumbass decisions that we allowed to happen, because we let this sort of like neoliberal world order. And when I say that, I want people to understand that like both the Democrats and the conservatives are liberals, right? If you go and you look up the definition of the word liberal, right? If you like shit, anybody who's watching this, you go to Wikipedia right now and you read what liberalism is. Okay? One of the core tenets of that is private property rights. Like, that is literally one of the three main pillars of the ideology, right? It is just sort of this like anti-feudalist orientation of society. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't ultimately produce the exact same outcomes that feudalism produced. The only difference is it's not determined by like whoever God ordained to lead the people, which like weirdly they're kind of getting back to around anyways. But now it's sort of like whoever was most successful within the context of the free market, as if wealth isn't like inherited over generations. Like, explain to me how that's any different than fucking royalty. You know what I'm saying? Like this is it, and it doesn't matter whatever like party you affiliate with. Like, shit, I mean, you can bounce back to the Epstein files for a half a second and point out the fact that like he worked with Republicans and Democrats alike because it didn't matter. He didn't care about what the party affiliation was. He cared about who was going to actually like curry favor and who could be bought and sold. So like this whole notion of like party affiliations, like, that's all bullshit, right? This is uniparty shit, and like this is what I want people to start like trying to wrap their head around a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean I think I don't want to like beat a dead horse here, but yeah, I mean, like, the wealth inequality is worse now than it was during the French Revolution, and they were pulling billionaires or their billionaires out of their houses at that point during the French Revolution. So and they didn't have guns back then; they just had guillotines. So it's an interesting thing, and it's I don't know, like, it's another interesting thing where I was watching this, and it's just a touch on this kind of parallel universe, because I think that's what ultimately we talk about, right? Like the Epstein files, even like this class battle. It's a parallel universe. It's a universe that these fucks live in that do not live in the same world as us, okay? Because if any of us get caught within a fucking universe of those files, we go under the prison, right? We disappear from society. forever. So, I mean, I think it's just a different set of rules, and they had their tendrils and everything, right? I mean, I think when you really dig deep, if you don't make yourself crazy, they had their fingers in everything, in the upper echelons of governments, multiple parties. Epstein was texting Democratic lawmakers from prison. Yeah. Like, fuck off, okay? Like we are supposed to sit here and believe that this theater that they're doing is legit. But ultimately, I want, like, people need to realize that all of it is theater. All of it is ultimately to dangle some keys in front of you, okay? Like, the reason they released all those files in the way that they did is because they knew we would behave this way when we would read them. We would go into all kinds of rabbit holes. We'd be sensationalizing some of the crazy stories. We'd be making up some stuff. They would, do committees. Even that committee hearing is a farce. It's a farce on both sides, right? I mean, it's not that I'm saying it shouldn't happen. I do believe that those committee hearings should happen regardless, because I'm not a fan of not doing it, but generally the lasting thing I want to leave on this is that if you are not inspirational, and what is inspiration here? Like, again, like, if I don't hear like someone like coming out with their full breath and telling us what we are here to fight for, again, to just talk about a little bit of what you had touched on, which is the messaging here. The messaging is that we can sit here and we can yell. And yeah, we've complained a lot on this, but me and you have been doing a lot of work outside of here too. I mean, I'm doing mutual aid. I'm like, working on a campaign where you're interviewing people, like interviewing important people in the community. We all can do what we can do, but ultimately redirecting that energy, that anger, into something inspirational, into something positive. How can you turn that into something where you can help your community, help your street? Something I told Marissa in a past podcast, and I just want to share this story with you guys, is that I come from a life of Twitter shit posting, man. I was on Twitter before Elon bought it. I am seasoned. I'm like in comment sections. I get it. It's tough out there. And I cared a lot about what was going on in the country. I cared a lot about what was going on internationally. But you start burning out when you realize you really don't have the kind of power you think you do. And like, they want you to just stop. They just want you to give up. When you realize that you can't go and single-handedly overthrow the government, the United States government, they want you to think, well, you have no power. But if you look outside on, like, what made me change, I looked outside my street and I saw there was a pothole. There's a fucking huge pothole that fucked up my car when I was living at Royal Crest in Nashua. And I was like, I'm going to go fucking fix that pothole. And I went to the city of Nashua. I told them about it. It took a while. It was a bit of a headache, but they filled the fucking pothole. And if that ain't a fucking like fix a pothole, okay? Fix the pothole outside of your apartment building or outside of your house. And then you will feel like you can change the fucking world. Like, seriously. And sometimes it might feel that way. Sometimes I feel like the momentum, like New Hampshire Talk has, like, I feel like I have to like bring myself back to earth because we're on the internet, like, it's not the real world, but you're seeing it in the name recognition outside in the real world. When we go and meet people, I'm going to events where people are coming up to me and being like, and I don't have a lot of followers. I'm not like fucking Marissa out here, like she's got like 50K followers, 30K. I got like 4 or 5K followers, right? And I'm never like pushing to promote or anything like that. But like, people are coming up to me and being like, I watch your stuff. And I have no idea who this person is. They're like, I watch your stuff. I've seen you and you've made me think about politics in a different way. And if you want a real reason to get involved, is reasons like that there are people out there that are just looking for other people to explain this shit to them, because this entire time it's been gate kept for a reason, like all this stuff has been gate kept from all of us for a reason. And we just want to build community here. We want people to feel positive. Like, are you angry about what's happening in New Hampshire? Well, we have candidates that are running in primaries that are bringing really positive changes. And I think what you said there was really important, Carter. And I just wanted to re-accentuate that like, it is one thing to because what's the Democratic Party been doing to us these past few election cycles? They've been shaming us. They've been guilting us. They've been fearing us, right? Yep. Careful, the bad guys are coming. Careful, the fascists are coming. there isn't inspiration. There's no platform. They would complain, hey, the Republicans have no platform. What's the Democratic platform? Running a border wall to the right of Republicans? Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Right.
There's no inspiration. There's no excitement. There's no contrast. And that's what we ultimately need from candidates and from people. Moral clarity, right? I don't think it's political or controversial to say that we shouldn't be covering up for sex traffickers. There is, I don't think it's controversial to not want to lessen rent for the working class. These things, we should be speaking with the utmost moral clarity on the things that are popular. And again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. They've done study after study where working class policies, when you remove the D or the R in front of the name and you present them to both sets of voters, they are massively popular, bipartisan. It's as soon as you put the R next to the name, as soon as you put the D next to the name, then all of a sudden people get tribal about it. And I think there's no reason to be political about human rights or for, working class policies or issues.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is for what it's worth, right? Like if I'm out talking to some carpenter or some plumber or whatever, right? Like the amount of times that I will hear these guys express genuine they are sort of aware of class consciousness, not in a theoretical sense the way the left likes to talk about it, right? But there is a tacit understanding because they've been screwed over by their boss, and they'll be like, yeah, man, tax the rich. See if I give a fuck. You know what I mean? They're all about it. So you have inroads all over the place, and it's important to again, this comes back to reading the room, and we'll pivot in a second because this is to your point about beating a dead horse, right? But it's important to understand that I'm out here giving a whole lot of shouting, and this is hot take day for me personally because we're doing a stream together, and Arya's my guy, and we're doing this is what we do because we're it's
Friday night, we're partying,
right?
Here.
Look, we are live streaming right now. You think this isn't a performance too? We're ginning it up for you guys. That's the whole idea. Is that people don't log on to the internet to watch people say shit in a boring way. How many of y'all tune in a fucking Ross outfit? I bet not that many. So the point being is there's a reason why somebody like Hassan Piker down below is genuinely capturing people's attention because they'll sit there and fucking scream in his chat all night. But you know what? When you go out into the real world and you're actually talking to people, you don't fucking behave like that because and those that do are immediately anybody in the public sees that and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna keep some distance from this person because they're kind of acting a little too out of pocket. You know what I mean? And it's
hell yeah.
There is shades of gray. If I am talking to my super liberal mother, right? She and I have mega political disagreements, right? Big time. And I'll go a little bit more out of hand in those situations and I'll get a little bit more emotional or psyched up or whatever. But I still make sure to maintain a through line of logical historical context because I know that particular person is capable of understanding what I'm talking about. So this is what I mean about reading the room and understanding who your audience is because you genuinely want to do what you can to coax people away from this liberal through line that has occurred in our country. And I don't care about what fucking the classic liberalism or whatever, right? I don't give a shit. Ain't nobody fucking still stuck in the 1970s on it. That time has passed. And so we need to actually be conscious of the environment that we're in now. It's really great and really wonderful to read up on history so you have context that you understand how we got from point A to point B to point C to now we're at point L. You know what I mean? It's good to see that through line so that you in your own mind can correctly orient your talking points and understand how to make your point in a cohesive way. But that doesn't actually have like a whole lot of bearing on people, like just the lay person's understanding of the way politics operates currently. And that's like the real takeaway there is like, do not think about it as like, oh, there's 1 or 2 or 3 different ways to have the conversation. There's like 6,000 ways to have the conversation, and you need to like be responsive to people in that situation. Yes, it becomes a bit more flattened when you're talking directly to somebody who's in a position of power, right? Because that person needs to have a certain amount of accountability held to them. But when you're talking to just like a regular voter, you don't do that stuff. And that's the real point that I kind of want to make on that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I think you said that well. I think ultimately there's more that bind. I mean, I think even like, I don't really believe in horseshoe theory, but I do believe that there's more that binds the populace in like both bases than sets them apart. It's just, we have been so fucking isolated from one another. Like, we are in our own bubbles now. And I think that's what's made things like really difficult.
Yep.
When it comes to all of this. But
speaking of stuck in a bubble,
I would tell people, go ahead.
Oh, you finish your point.
No, the very last thing, and if you want inspiration, hey, listen, primary day is September 8th in New Hampshire, guys.
Real
and
talk.
That's something that I'm going to be talking about a lot in the coming days. Primary day, that's the election, right? It's not the general election. Primary day is the election. And I tell people this all the time, you can fucking shock the country here. You really could, because there aren't that many primary voters. And like when you talk about like a congressional primary, especially in a non-presidential race year, especially when it's depressed voter turnout to begin with, that's how the Tea Party was born, for better or for worse. Regardless of how you feel about the Tea Party is why we are here right now in this. The Tea Party is the Republican Party now.
Right.
I mean, a lot of those factions have pretty much taken over. So it's possible. And again, this is not a critique on the Tea Party. People know how I feel about the Tea Party. It's more of an observation on their strategy.
Yeah.
On what they did, because no one thought that they had a chance, and they went and like they were outspent 25-1. But they were just like this group, man, New Hampshire Talk. Like they were just a small group of like pissed off voters. They were pissed off for different reasons. They hated, like their big thing was like immigration at the time. Right. It was that's why we are
Look
here.
Where we're at now. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I think, yeah. But I think like you get a small group of pissed off, organized, disciplined voters in a depressed turnout timeline. The sky's the limit, you can definitely create some magic. I think it's been done. It's not like we're creating magic, it's been done in our lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, we'll do a little bit of pivot. We'll get a bit more state oriented right now. How about that? So, this is going to be funny. This is going to be some real funny shit right here. So, I'm going to play this little segment. Okay. I'm going to play this little segment. I did a whole video talking about how Kelly Ayotte is useless, and anybody on Arya's Twitch channel, you can go check my YouTube, locally sourced on YouTube. You can watch that video. For the trolls in the chat, you can get all hot and bothered about my takes, because I get that I'm pissing you off and I really don't give a fuck. Anyways, so we're gonna play this little snippet, and then I'm gonna show the follow-up, because we got to talk about the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme that we've got going on here. So we'll play this little bit of audio.
Yeah, hell yeah.
White House, Department of Homeland Security, because I want transparency for Merrimack, for the people of Merrimack, so that they can weigh in on whether this facility comes and what the impact is on their community. So I thought I need to understand, what are the circumstances? Why wasn't this information raised? There's also, as the counselor pointed out at the meeting, there's a comment portion that I think Merrimack would have liked to weigh in on. So that's why I'm asking the Attorney General, let's find out what happened here so it doesn't happen again. And most importantly, I think Merrimack needs transparency.
Democrats are on the attack here, saying you must have known about this somehow.
Well, I think the commissioner came forward and said, number one, she didn't know, she claims, and then also that I didn't know, so I don't know what they're talking about.
Had you been looped in?
Okay. So there's that funny moment where she says, well, I didn't know, and my secretary didn't know, and so, you know, whatever. Like, so, I mean, generally the obvious critique here is, you know, well, what are you talking about? Like, you don't have access to the news, or you didn't notice that that
it's so stupid.
that there weren't fucking giant protests happening for like I'm pretty sure like months now. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So like there's this just like oh, I'm so ignorant and I don't know, and I have no idea how we missed this, and blah blah blah. Like, okay, yeah, sure Kelly, that's cute. So we'll go to this, right? This is from a hearing in DC.
Are you aware that ICE has identified a commercial warehouse in Merrimack, New Hampshire as a site for a new detention center?
Yes, ma'am.
So the town of Merrimack wasn't consulted about this plan, but when they eventually heard about it, town leaders wrote to Secretary Newsom voicing their concerns and oppositions to the plan. And I have shared those concerns with
if
DHS.
you're playing something,
now, my colleague, Senator Wicker from
nothing is playing.
No audio coming through? Son of a B.
Nope.
That's terrible. That is so terrible. Hold on a second. See here.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, but we can't be having that. I hit the button.
I hit the button.
I hit the fucking button. What are we doing here?
2 days in a row, Larry.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm cooked. Hold on a second. Let's see here. There we go. You got it now?
Sweet. Hell yeah.
Is it showing up? All right, cool. Let's jump it back. We'll listen to it again.
Are you aware that ICE has identified a commercial warehouse in Merrimack, New Hampshire as a site for a new detention center?
Yes, ma'am.
So the town of Merrimack wasn't consulted about this plan, but when they eventually heard about it, town leaders wrote to Secretary Newsom voicing their concerns and oppositions to the plan. And I have shared those concerns with DHS. Now, my colleague, Senator Wicker from Mississippi, expressed similar concerns about a proposed ICE facility in his state. ICE has now canceled that Mississippi project. So will ICE similarly cancel the New Hampshire project based on these concerns and local opposition?
No, ma'am. Actually, DHS has worked with Governor Ayotte, has spoke to the governor about economic impact. We did provide an economic impact summary.
And when exactly did you speak with Governor Ayotte? Because until recently, she said she didn't know anything about it.
DHS officials, ma'am, spoke within the past weeks, but I can take that as a get back and get that exact time for you.
Okay. So the question here is like, what the fuck? Because Lyons is saying that past couple weeks, right? So that would imply like, okay, so it's the 13th now. So my guess is that past few weeks is you're talking about like at the late, like the, you know, like roughly end of January, they would have reached out to her.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So just so that I'm clear, this interview with Ayotte was uploaded 4 days ago.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Yep.
So like,
and I don't know if you saw it too. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, not only is she useless, she's lying. Like she's literally lying to you. So not only is she utterly fucking incompetent, but she also thinks that you're stupid. Like she's treating everybody in the state like they're dumb, and then is also in that same video, she repeatedly says, "I didn't know, not my problem." Like all this stuff. So like she literally serves no fucking function whatsoever. Like I don't know what's the point, right? And I guess maybe that is like literally directly in line with the whole like Free State Project notion of like, yeah, we just want government to stop existing, so let's just make it as useless as possible, and then we can point to it and say, look how useless the government is. Government never works. Government doesn't do anything. And then sure enough, they get exactly what they want. But like, that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, this is Ouroboros shit. Like, don't, like, what the fuck, guys? Like, if you actually elect people to do things for you and they provide material results for you in your life, then like, no, the government doesn't do nothing. That's how that works. Like, what are we doing? Anyways, that's my take.
I completely. No, I mean, it's like, they are not scared of consequence. There's no consequence that they fear right now. And the funniest part of this thing is that DHS isn't even covering for Kelly Ayotte. Like, if you go to DHS's Twitter right now, they straight up like tweeted something. They were like, we told Kelly Ayotte what the deal was. Like, it's like, right, not even like beating around the bush. It's like, no, we told her. We told that. Right. We told the governor. Okay, she's fucking lying to y'all. All right, like that. Like, they're not even covering for her. So it is so egregious. And again, it shows you how even the Republican administration, or I should say like the Trump administration, feels about Republican governors that are not falling in line. They don't give a fuck. Yeah, they don't give a fuck who you are. They don't care what letter is in front of your name too. You know, like, you better like fall in line. Like, and if you're not, you're a rhino. You're like, you're whatever name they want to give you. And New Hampshire, there is no fear right now. There's no fear of consequence by any of the political powers. I'm talking like, not, from the state side, whether it's the Republicans that like run the state side of it, or the federal delegation, which is the Democratic oligarchy, right? I think that they are all in cahoots. When you talk about theatrics, right, which is what I believe this Epstein hoopla is like, okay, let me clarify. I'm going to get clipped to shit now. I'm not saying the Epstein files are theatrics. Right. I'm saying like the way like people are reacting to the Epstein files, the way the politicians are going about it. Paige Boschman, okay, who gave the finger to Kelly Ayotte, got more of a reprimand than anyone in those files. Okay?
What was that?
She gave
what was
the
that
finger
number
to
again?
Kelly Ayotte because
you probably know.
It was like 264
to like
it was
90
like 264 to 80. It was
oh god, it's even worse.
Bipartisan vote. And the crazy thing is, she killed that speech, and like she said that people changed their votes to no because of it. So it would have been even a wider margin if it wasn't for that speech. She got a hand of applause, and they struck her down after too. They were pretty upset about that. But I think it kind of shows you where the priorities are of our leaders, our politicians. And again, I don't want to say Republicans or Democrats, because this past year, these past like couple of years have really, really ripped the mask off of our party, man. Like I have my own feelings about Republicans. I always have. I have friends, close friends, that have flirted with MAGA, that I've had to pull from the depths, and it was difficult. And that's a whole other conversation. But I think like I've always looked at Republicans as the enemy that I like liberals were the enemy that I knew. Or no, they were the allies that I knew. There was something like, I don't know what I'm going to fuck the quote up, but basically Republicans, I know what they were about. It was never really a surprise. Like their takes and positions. Yeah, the
evil,
it runs with. Yeah, there it is. That the evil, exactly. And then liberals, since October 7th, have had that mask completely ripped off, and I'm talking in epic fashion. Like in epic fashion. When you talk about again, just to touch on Zohran Mamdani again, how the Democratic Party treated him there. How they're treating progressive candidates all around the country, how they're treating them here in New Hampshire. I think you're seeing clearly that our biggest ops are the people who are urging us to go back to the status quo.
Right.
The people that are urging us to go back to the Kamala Harris, to go back to the uninspiring Gavin Newsom choices that are going to bring us, again, it's just going to bring us. I don't want to. This isn't my idea, but Hassan Piker, he said something amazing. Like again, something he said was so true, which is, if you do not back away from Gavin Newsom as a party, and you bring him out there, even if he wins, which is a good possibility in this environment, right? From liberals, it was because everyone and their mother could vote through the mail because of COVID. Okay, so like that was a huge boost to Democrats, right? And it wouldn't have worked out the same way, I don't think, because again, people didn't vote for Biden out of inspiration. They voted for him out of fear.
Right.
Out of fear. And again, like that's not going to work anymore. So
yeah, no, you're right on the money with that. And like, you know, I think it's like it's important for people to like understand that like to your point about that election, right? The 2020 election, like we were in the middle of a pandemic, right? Like that was like one of the like heights of the whole like woke like movement. Like BLM was like ripping at the time, like, and everybody was so incensed around like hating Donald Trump at that particular time. And like, to be fair, part of it was like, well, he's incompetent, right? Because he at that time he absolutely was. Like, I think the only positive thing that came out of that was the stimmy checks. And like, you know, like, look, like I would have preferred to see that maybe turn into like a UBI or something like that. I mean, again, there's debates that you can have about the validity or usefulness of a UBI, but like the point is that like people were just like, they were like, we need to like get out of this, right? So like even in that moment, people were voting like for something. They weren't necessarily voting against something. They were voting for anything better than this, right? They were voting for like, maybe if we hand it back over to the Democrats, that there'll be some sort of like normalcy, right? They were like, I'm tired of living in a reality TV iteration of what happened. And then following that, you had fucking Brandon that dude was so fucking checked out. Like I really like that was just like the worst possible person that we could have put up. Like, and the thing about it is like, dude, Biden did like, everybody loves to talk about like, oh well, Biden was the first president to like stand on a picket line, and you know, like, oh okay, cool, yeah, great, like I appreciate that as a union member. I fucking appreciate that. But you know what? He did not reinstate the JCPOA. He did, like, on the very, very fucking last day of his tenure as a lame duck president was the day he finally did anything for Cuba, only for that to immediately just get, like, put right back on the day after, the moment Trump came back into office. So, like, you know what? The dude pissed all over any of our, like, foreign relations, anything like that. He did not produce anything of any value. And meanwhile, the Democratic Party decided to do the most undemocratic thing possible, which was to change out the candidate without a primary. Like that, like if you wanted to stab people in the back, that was a fucking great way to do it. If you wanted to kill any faith or any trust that people had in the party, that was like a killer way to do it. And like, as much as everybody will say, well, like, oh, well, everybody on the left decided to not vote for Kamala because of Israel. And like, yeah, I'm sure there's a significant number of people that did that. Exactly. But I'm sure there's also a significant number of people who are like, this party doesn't even stand up to their own name. They do not even do the one thing that they are supposed to do, which is be democratic. Right? Like, and at that point, the ship sailed on this being a democracy. Not like it was functioning that well in the first place, considering the Electoral College gives insane amounts of outsized power to states that are mostly fucking cows. And like the Senate is basically the House of Lords in the UK, except with significantly more power. Like our districts are gerrymandered to fuck because we can't institute independent redistricting commissions. Like we are so deeply cooked on so many different levels in this country, and your vote has been so disempowered so heavily for so long that functionally it feels like the democracy doesn't function anymore. And the funny part about it is that if everybody just sacks up and goes and fucking votes, even with all those obstructions, the people can still take back the power. We're not past that point yet. That's the part that everybody misses, is that like, even now, if everybody were to actually lock the fuck in and think, you know what, I'm going to go read up on some policy, I'm going to get learned on what like actually worked or didn't work. Not just, you don't even have to go that far back. You can look at just like the 1900s, right? And it doesn't take that long. You don't have to like get super like deep into like economics or what, like you really don't have to go that hard to just start coming up with some like real clarity and like media literacy on what's happening in order to be able to say, no, I'm going to vote this way. And if people engaged in primaries, right, we would have a completely different situation. But everybody's been so disillusioned from their vote that they don't even think it matters, right? And then they make themselves feel better, like, okay, yeah, I went and I voted on election day, like in the general. Like what? And then you complain about it. Like, dude, you got to engage a little bit more than that. And again, this isn't even me asking people to go knock on doors. Like there's an even small, like a fractional like subset. You're talking about like a very, very like maybe 1% at best of the people in this country will actually go out and do that work, right? Will actually engage in that activism. There's a lot more people that are like, yeah, I'll help my community by going out and like chipping in some time or making a donation to my local food bank, right? Like there's people that understand this type of action in a very like much more direct way. Like, oh, I'll just like fuck the government. I'll just help out where I can and how I can. You know what I mean? Like, but if you actually like consolidate your brain a little bit better into the notion of like how democracy works, then you might actually be able to get people elected that will go and do reforms like abolishing the Electoral College, instituting independent redistricting commissions, abolishing the Senate, things that will actually lead to a much more direct form of democracy in this country, so that you don't have like representatives that are like covering like, what is it, like 3 times the number of constituents that they were supposed to. We haven't expanded that at all in all of this time. Nobody wants to even come close to talking about packing the Supreme Court, even though there is absolutely no precedent in the entire history of the country that states that it has to be 9 justices. Like there are plenty of levers that can be pulled here, but it requires a certain degree of like broader consciousness of the people and the voters to actually like advocate for things, and then understand that, like, again, as I said earlier, politicians are tools. So like you need to use those tools appropriately. And when the tool is not working, you have to try and fix it. And the best way to fix it is to like actually speak up and speak that truth to that power, right? Be ruthless with it, because that is the only mechanism that you have as a constituent to get to where you need to go. If they actually feel threatened, if they feel like they're going to lose their fucking job, watch how quick they turn, right? Make it so that your vote matters more to them than whatever donor dollars they're getting. That's what I'm saying.
No, that's well said. And I just there's some metrics that I just want to bring up, because you brought up like, because I'm still seeing that, which is over the 2024 election, which is like, oh, the Gaza people, oh, look what they're doing to America. So it's the Gaza people that will cause the election to. So Kamala Harris, okay. So I want everyone. I'm gonna clip this for my own channel because I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and because I get into a lot of tussles with liberal creators over the 2024 and as soon as excuse me, and a lot of them are, you know, we all come from different, you know, identities, have different groups. So when I'm not talking to a white cisgender man, when it's anyone else, I am immediately targeted as someone who is using identity politics, racial politics, someone who hates women, someone who hates black people, someone. So if I vote, okay, so this is the kind of like pressuring that happens. If I say, you know what, it's really important for me that my tax dollars don't go towards turning babies into pink mist in Gaza, then I will have liberals here be like, you hate black people in America. Like, so that's the, So that's the level of nuance that we're at as a political party, which is extremely unfair. But let me give you guys some metrics on the 2024 election versus the 2020 election, okay? 7 million less people voted for Kamala Harris than voted for Joe Biden, okay? There are not 7 million leftists in the Democratic Party, okay? Nope. First of all, okay? Of that group, 2 million were Latinos. 1.5 million were African American men. These are not typically leftist cohorts, okay? These are your fucking base. This is the base of your party. These aren't Bernie Sanders leftists.
Right.
7 million people didn't show up. That's the base. And when you look at some of the polling numbers that come out from inside the Democratic Party, something like 7% of the Democratic Party right now, or like 17%, has a 7 in it, very low number, is against or is for what Israel is currently doing still in Gaza. Something like 18% believes, or like the inverse of that. So 82% of the Democratic Party believes what Israel is doing in Gaza is a genocide. Okay. 86% of the Democratic Party wants you to stop funding Israel. So what does the number one presidential candidate for 2028 say on Ben Shapiro's podcast? It's not a genocide in Israel. That's what Gavin Newsom's message is. That's not a genocide. He's the front runner, right? To the libs, the neo-libs right now. He's the one that's being shoved down all of our throats at the moment.
Yep.
He isn't going to call Israel a genocide. So again, there was someone, Matt, I think, left a good message in my Twitch where he said, I spoke to someone the other day who said, if this election was run again today, then Kamala Harris would win. And I would say, pump those fucking brakes, man.
Yeah, sure.
I am not so sure that is the case. And my feeling is the same about Gavin Newsom right now. If you ran Gavin Newsom out there in 2028, you are in serious trouble of losing. And if you do not lose, you will not win with a mandate. You will win barely because people are slowly getting off the Trump train. But what will come after will be exponentially worse than Trump. Because again, the ratchet effect, because we don't have the Democrats who are willing to fight back, who are willing to ratchet it back the other way, right? Regardless of how you feel. I know I love that there are people of multiple political persuasions in my Twitch. That's great. I love all of you guys. As long as everyone's respectful, that's great. But regardless of where you stand on the political realm, some of you came in here late, I was talking about the ratchet effect, that Democrats they don't fight the way Republicans have fought when they're in office. They have ratcheted like politics very right. And every time a spineless Democrat gets into office, like a Biden, he does nothing. He sits there. He tries to negotiate with Republicans who do not want to negotiate with him. Like they made it clear. They don't want to, they're doing their thing. They're doing great at it. Right. So we do nothing. We wait for 4 years. We let Trump reload. Every other month he's saying something crazy like your neighbors, your Haitian neighbors are eating your dogs and cats. Puerto Rico is a big fucking trash pile. There is no Democratic anti-messaging. If you let them repeat it over and over again, Haitians are eating your dogs and cats. You repeat it over and over and over again. People are going to start believing it because no one is saying, there's no equivalent to that. There's no Biden, no AOC, I don't see them out in public being like, are you guys fucking crazy? Eating your dogs and cats? Are you guys fucking crazy? And the last thing I'll say is, ironically, during that election, what was the best performance? Like, when were the Democrats performing the best in that election cycle, 2024? It was when they took Tim Walz, that jolly Santa Claus, threw him around the country, the Democratic Party performed the best in that election cycle. They were gaining momentum. They were going to cities and be like, these weird fucking incels. They want to go to swim meets and check your 15-year-old's bathing suit before she swims. This is where it's going. Who wants to check your children's genitals? You know, like I'm telling you, like some of these things I'm saying might hit you a little bit sharp, but it's because you're not used to people speaking with moral clarity. Am I being hyperbolic? No. I'm not about checking, because how else are you going to check if a girl is a girl? You know, they haven't provided us any fucking answers here. You know, it's just like they care about fairness or whatever they say in sports, which is, you know, there's like 10 trans athletes in all of college sports, but that's a whole other fucking conversation. But
yeah, I mean, like,
this is the distraction they want to stick in front of you. But go ahead.
To that point, right? Like, so I made a little, like, I made a post on fucking TikTok. I hate fucking TikTok so much, but it's fine. Like, I made a post on there because, like, I've been, like, getting, like, very, very, like, fed up with the whole, like, anti-trans argument that's happening. There is an NIH article.
Yeah, I saw your post. I did see it,
yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. There's an NIH article. The 97% of gender-affirming chest reduction, breast reduction surgeries performed on 17-year-old or younger ages are for cisgender men. That is fucking titty operations for boys that are overweight. Right now, I'm not even shaming that, right? Like, I said it in the video and I'll say it again here. If whatever choice you want to make, that is 100% between you and your doctor. Nobody, literally fucking nobody, including especially any form of government, has any place getting between you and your doctor when it comes to that decision. But the point I'm trying to make is that we do 97% of men under the age of 17 are the primary receivers of gender-affirming surgeries. So I do not want to fucking hear another word about, like, oh, well, the transgender idea is just with these surgeries and we're maiming kids. Like, no, dude, you're maiming boys by cutting off their titties. Girls need to go learn how to fucking be attracted to the heftier boy then. What are we talking about? Like, this shit is insane. And I'm saying this as a skinny dude. Like,
I was a heftier boy.
Like, right. Like, no, like, dude, all love and respect to the chubby boys. Like, for real. Like, we need to, like, completely reform and reassess the concept of just what being attractive even is. Do you know how many chicks out there are into the dad bod? Like, give me a fucking break. Like, own your shit, dude. Like, it's not that hard. Like,
where they at?
Look, like,
where are you guys at?
I'm saying, like, I'm on the opposite end of that scale, dude. I didn't fucking, like, even really, like, get into the meat of puberty until I was in college. You know how fucking embarrassing that was for me? Being, like, the shortest kid in school until I was a junior in high school. Like I literally felt like any girl that I went to high school with looked at me like I was a fucking child. Like, that, there's all different kinds of body dysmorphia that exist. And you know what? I didn't have any kind of recourse for that. None of this shit was anything that was something that I had any access to. There was nothing that I could do about that, right? I couldn't just make myself grow. I'm not going to turn in a fucking clavicular and all of a sudden go on fucking TRT and, like, what? Like, no. Like, absolutely not. I'm just going to fucking be patient and understand that my day will come. Right? Like, if you're concerned about being overweight, dude, hit the fucking gym. I did earlier today. It was great. It makes me feel good. Like, it's worth doing. Like, you can improve the quality of your life in means other than going to a doctor and putting yourself under a knife. But the point I'm trying to make is that people who are transgender, people who are literally born, and it's not a psychological condition that people seem to fucking get all twisted up about, right? Like, biology itself has so many different, very legitimate instances in which people are born transgender, not just psychologically, but physically, okay? There's a wide variety of conditions that you can be born with that actually result in you having a non-binary biological system. This is how biology works. There is not just simply two genders, and within that context, and then separately from that, gender, as we understand it, is not the same thing as sex. Gender is a social construct. It is something that we have decided. Well, little girls like pink and they play with dolls, and little boys like blue and they play with cars, and like, what the fuck
I'm so
is
happy
that?
you're talking about this. This is a hard concept for a lot of people, like biological sex versus gender. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I'm sorry, like that shit is arbitrary. Those are just decisions that people made and then reinforced generation over generation, right? And it was easy to indoctrinate that, chaining down the line, unlike, say, remembering history, which is why we repeat bullshit fucking every couple decades, right? This is very simple to communicate. It's very easy to beat that into people's heads. It's very easy to like inundate them and propagandize them with like incessant media advertising, right? Like pop-ups and fucking like insert ads on YouTube because you didn't buy fucking premium, or like you're not subscribed to your favorite Twitch streamer or whatever, so you're just getting whatever the system is trying to push into your face. And they identified at one point that like, oh, we can sell shit this way, right? Like that it's all about making money. It's all about creaming fucking every penny out of your pocket that they can. Like that's what gender is, right? And everybody's getting all fucking twisted up and angry about people trying to reclaim that. And it's fucking madness. It is utter madness to me. So like, please, folks, separate this shit out. Like it's not that difficult. Like and like maybe I'm saying this in like a traditionally toxic masculine way. I don't really give a fuck. Like it's not just because I am coming from that position doesn't mean that like what I'm advocating for isn't the antithesis of whatever I was informed to grow up with as a millennial. Like I hated all of those exact conventions, right? People thought I was gay for the longest fucking time. I was not, right? It just like I just happened to present in a certain way, and that was like a social construct that was put on me, and I had to overcome that. And so like within that context, like even that particular psychological dysphoria exists within cisgender men, not just body dysmorphia. And so this is like people need to fucking have like just think about it for like a quick half a second, and you'll realize that everything that they told you about all this stuff is utter bullshit to just get you to fucking spend more money. Like, like really, like, come on. Like, it's exhausting. It's really exhausting.
There's like three really quick things. The last that you just reminded me of, I don't know if you've ever seen, or if people in the chat, if any of you guys have seen the documentary called Bowling for Columbine. It was like, Michael Moore did a documentary on the Columbine shooting, like a little bit after, and it was like one of his first big documentaries. And Marilyn Manson's in that documentary because after Columbine, there was like a lot of like blaming going around. Like they were blaming video games, and you remember every like cultural like conversation we were having about like class shooters and like what it was being caused by. And one of the big blames was Marilyn Manson. Like Marilyn Manson had a concert in Aurora, or like in close to where it was. And he ended up having to cancel it because of the backlash he was getting. And they had a really crazy interview with him. And I thought I didn't know who he was until I heard him talking to Michael Moore. And he was like, they sell you, it's fear and consumption. That's all it is. It's all fear and consumption. He's like, you're scared, you can't fuck women, here's a pill. You know, like you can't go outside in public, here's a pill. You know, like here's more food, here's another pill. You know, like it's just like this fear and constant consumption that he made a good point to. And yeah, I mean, like again, you talk about intersex issues. Like again, people that are, you know, being naturally trans is like it's 1% to 2% of people are born intersex. I mean, just naturally. I mean, this is like red hair is considered an intersex trait. You know, like there are people born with both chromosomes. Like I mean, it happens. It happens scientifically. It happens. There is precedent for it. It happens in nature. And the part of the sports, so the sports conversation is where I rip people apart on the sports stuff. I'm not a medical expert. Okay. So like, I'm going to listen to the medical experts when it comes to anything having to do with like the trans community, right? I'm intersex. I'm seeing roughly 1 to 2% of people where these, along with variations in hormones or reproductive organs, can occur. Regardless, it's a very small percentage. Let's not get. It's a extremely small percentage of people that we are spending a lot of time focusing on. Again, I use the NCAA sports stats. 10 athletes, 10 roughly in NCAA sports. You talk about that massive group of athletes. There's only 10 athletes that are considered to be trans. And I want to just go into the sports fairness thing, right? Because the if you do enough research on the trans issue, then you would know that it's not just a matter of making a quick decision, right? There's a lot of time, a lot of doctors, a lot of therapy, they go through a lot before deciding that they want to go down a surgical path. It's not something that's done like getting, like you said, getting breast implants. It's not that quick and easy. Okay.
This is like,
but when it comes to sports fairness, which is the cudgel a lot of conservatives use here, we just want sports to be fair. Okay. What are you going to start doing? Banning really tall people in basketball?
Right.
What are you going to ban Michael Phelps from swimming because his body is shaped like a fucking whale or a fish or whatever? Remember they did that whole thing on Michael Phelps where his body had like evolved to like the water.
Exactly.
Like his fucking back is like, oh, he's like a fucking dolphin, like a human dolphin. What are we going to start banning people who are born with genetic, like they have things genetically that give them more, that give them an advantage. It is an advantage. Like being a woman, a lot of the women that are weightlifters, they happen to have chemically, organically, they are more masculine. They have more masculine features. They have more, whatever I don't want to misspeak on this, but you know what I'm saying, which is people are born different and we should be celebrating those differences, not trying to isolate them. Again, we don't ban super tall people from playing basketball because they were born with they were born a little bit different. We don't do stuff like that. Like people will be genetic. Some people will have advantages over others. You can't teach height. So, I mean, I think it's that part of the conversation always pisses me off because I am a sports expert. I love sports. And you can't fucking start talking to me about fairness in sports when people are born with all kinds of genetic variations that give them advantages over other people.
Right. And, and it's just like we cherry pick this bullshit. I did just throw up the NIH article I was talking about. There's a chart right here. You can fucking see it. Okay. For adults. Okay. For adults. That is 80% of adults are cisgender men, again, getting breast reduction surgery. The fuck are we doing, guys? Like, this is madness. So anytime you see Fox News trying to run fucking articles about this shit, shut that off. Because it's just propaganda. Like, it is literally just propaganda. They're just trying to rage bait you. That's
just
not
really
news.
quick before I forget. I don't want to. It's just a really important thing I want to throw in there too. Is that they did a study on this. I'm going to find the study because I don't want people to think I'm just talking out of my ass. They did a study on where trans news stories are originating from. And a lot of people thought that like it's the liberal, quote unquote, I don't know, what's a fucking liberal news network, which is crazy.
Yeah,
that's such a crazy descriptor.
Oh, you mean all of America?
But
like,
yeah, right. Like it's so insane. So they're like, where do these news? And a lot of trans news is coming from hard, like not even like regular right-wing networks. It's hard right-wing networks like the Breitbarts of the world.
Newsmax.
And yeah, exactly. And they're being, and what happens is there's an entire ecosystem and a media ecosystem on the right that the left doesn't have. Right. Let's be real. There's no money to be made on the left on, progressive issues. But like that story gets picked up and amplified through all these different, media personalities on the internet. And all of a sudden it becomes a national issue, even though like liberals are like, it's not something that it doesn't come up to me unless it's in the context of their rights being taken away. It's just it is the frontline culture war. I think. Like, if you looked at all the different culture wars right now going on in this country, I think that is the frontline culture war when it comes to the absolute like minority of people that it is dealing with, that is affecting, and how much of a massive story that some of these networks make it. And I think, again, Matt has been saying some great things in chat. I've seen some of the same scholars talk about how, and let's be real, this is how the Nazis grew. I mean, they didn't start targeting everyone, okay? Like, they started targeting very specific groups of society, small groups, something that could unite people.
First they came for the communists, and I did not speak up, right? Everybody knows the fucking line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're and even they went after white people too, bro. You know, like that's the thing that like a lot of people don't like. They like to think that Nazis were just going after the brown people. Nah, man, they were going after the Christians. They were going after the Poles. They were going after all the white people too, bro. Like, being white is not good enough. Just being white is not good enough for Aryans, dude. Like, or like for fascists. Like, it doesn't work that way. So,
well, and it's important to note that like literally one of the first groups that the Nazis went after were gay and transgender people. Like, that was literally one of the very first targets that they like locked in on. Right? It's not like it didn't just jump straight into Jew hate. Like they really like are like, it was about like the Aryan purity. Like, and that's just like, dude, I really like, at a certain point you have to be like, hey, like, can we just let like other people live their lives? Like, like it just doesn't add up to me that like we're at this, we're so advanced in our society, right? We have all this fucking useless technology. Right, we're completely doing away with a significant portion of jobs. A lot of those jobs, like I literally have friends. Like, I went to art school, right? I have friends that have genuinely lost work and are now manufacturing memes. Professional graphic designers that now make memes for money because they were replaced by AI. AI that is putting out like fractional quality of work to whatever company they used to work for, and the company doesn't even give a shit because they know that people are too stupid to even understand the difference, right? Like it's like they don't even care about the drop in quality. There's no like reverence for craftsmanship in this world anymore. Like, and I really think that like it's like, for me, is like, you know, having gone to that art school experience, one of the biggest problems that I had with like being an art student is that something I learned within that context was that it was so much less about the quality of your work, right? Like you could bring a piece into class for critique, right? Like as an example, you can like, I could sit there and I could spend like hours and hours and hours. I could stay up all fucking night making a video, right? I could like go do like 2 days worth of shooting, pull like 2 all-nighters trying to edit the shit together, bring it into class. I show it and I get nothing but like grilled for whatever the content is, because it didn't fit like the tastemaker aspects of the other students in the class. And I spent so much time working on the piece that I didn't sit there and spend a whole bunch of time formulating some sort of like verbose, like lengthy, pointless artist statement. And then I'd watch another kid who just like farted out some idea because they just sat there and were like thinking way too fucking hard about something. And then they make just like an absolute like garbage piece of craft. And they show it and everybody's just like jerking the piece off. And at that point, I realized that it was so much less about what you could produce in terms of quality and the amount of effort that you would pour into it, and so much more about like whatever you could argue, whatever you, and within the context of art, the issue is that there is no objective reality. There is no objective truth. So everything is entirely subjective and relies 100% on the audience that you're presenting it to. So like, this is, and we are now at a point where like, I remember thinking to myself like, oh shit, like I'll try and focus on politics because it sort of like roots back down to like material realities, and there's like studies of science and you know, like history, and like you can point to things and you can say this happened, and like even this is now so poisoned by that. And like it's getting to a point where like I really hope that folks are able to like hit a point where they're so tired of the slop that they just want to like reconnect with authenticity. Like that's, and I mean, like, look, like that's why I don't monetize my channel. That's why, like, I'm not out here doing what I do for cash, right? Like, I mean, not that I have the followings to even like get YouTube to pay attention to me, or like TikTok or whatever, like, and I don't really care about that. I would much rather some random person stumble upon whatever content I produced and be inspired by it, or like learn something new, and then go and like share that information with somebody else. Like I would so much rather it happen in a more grassroots type of way, even if it doesn't connect to like a significantly broader audience. I would so much rather that be the formulation of society. And like, if that's whatever legacy I leave behind me, and as a really wonderful rapper that I encourage people to listen to, Milo, said, like, I'll just be a squiggle in a string of quotients. You know what I mean? And that's fine. That is fucking fine. And I really hope that everybody else is able to like maybe come to terms with the implications of that particular bar, because it was a fucking bar. And like, that is it.
No, I completely agree. Sorry, we are having a little bit of a discussion in the Twitch about.
I'm seeing it.
About, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think like that's, you know, one of the statements, like responding to one of the statements from my boy Ox, which is like, and me and him are very much aligned. Like, you know, this idea when they use the phrase, okay, and this is where the propaganda and the messaging comes through. That is really important. Where like the phrase, the statement, men shouldn't play in women's sports, is the dumbest, most low IQ, lowest fucking hanging fruit available. Of course, men shouldn't play in women's sport. Like, who's gonna say, you know what, you're fucking wrong? They should. Men should play in women's sport. It is so stupid. It's a way to change. Like, it changes the perspective or the source of the argument, right? It's before you even get into the actual argument itself, right? Which is a very stupid way to go about it. The question is, like, in a case where there is a minority of people, how do we go about this in a way that doesn't ostracize or put people's lives in danger, man? Like, it's not really that difficult to have a conversation about how we're going to fix sports. You know, if the alternative to that is the alternative of us having a conversation about gender affirming care and about the nuance and the kind of intricacies of this issue, if the alternative of that is you just telling them to get fucked, then I'm sorry, you know, that's not good enough. And a lot of the time that feels like that is the only answer. Like, every time it comes back down to there's only two genders. It's the same fucking dumb like bullshit that you've heard your entire life. And it's like, well, listen, in the end, like, it's not the trans people and the bathrooms they're choosing that's making your rent go up.
Right.
I don't know how much like in what kind of more basic English I can tell you that like, you know, it's not the trans people that are, you know, that is making inflation what it is. This is not how it works. And
fucking
to give you guys an idea of like the theater involved here.
No, just get 1 second. Speaking of bars, Pat Lynch just showed up in the chat. Bro has the best take ever. Swimming shouldn't be a sport. That's where I stand. Let's fucking go, buddy. Let's go. That's the type of shit we need up in here. He said
he'll put up any lacrosse player against Riley Gaines. That's what he said. It's fucking brutal. These are absolutely brutal. I mean, like, just the little thing that the last thing I want to talk about when I talk about the culture versus the class war here, there's something that came out today where I was reading about how the economy, like, we're wondering why the economy is looking like it's doing so good still, right? There's reports coming out, the jobs numbers are up. They're saying the economy is still chugging along, stock market is up, et cetera, et cetera. It's because 10% of this country does 50% of the spending now.
Right.
Can you guys fucking believe that? That like 10% of this country are the ones deciding how this economy is running. And I think that is probably the scariest thing to me in the world right now. If I could leave, I know we've been going forever today.
Yeah,
if I could leave people with someone, time flies when you're yelling at people. No, it's but when you really break it down, is that there is a tsunami coming. Like there is an economic like crash coming, whether it's the AI bubble, which I'm going to call the ChatGPT bubble. It's not really an AI bubble. It's ChatGPT is very overvalued for some reason. Isn't that great versus the other.
Yeah, I was about to say our fucking economy is 3 AI companies in a trench coat. Like what the fuck, dude? Like it's
yeah. And it's very, so again, what's happening is just people playing with money. It's just moving money around is what is powering this economy, and it's not going to last forever. And that's why I tell people, stop focusing on ICE as a, even now to look ahead. Steve Bannon started talking about it recently too, about sending ICE to the polls during the midterms. ICE is not an immigration force, guys. I'm sorry to tell you, ICE is a capitalist force that is going to be employed by the Democrats on Republicans as soon as they start hitting the streets and complaining that their groceries haven't gone down and their rent hasn't gone down, when they realize that they've been sold a fucking lie too, which will come because the economy just doesn't get good overnight for people. And once they can't afford their bills as well, those same ICE agents, which how many of them are even white, dude? I mean, like you look, the names of the guys that, I mean, like they're Hispanics. A lot of them are Hispanics. A bunch of them, and I wonder how many of them are ultimately going to be offered citizenship over this, because ICE is having trouble, recruiting people. So what did Russia do? Let me give you guys some historical example. What did Russia do when they couldn't fulfill their army and they couldn't fulfill their police force? They started emptying the prisons. They started offering citizenship to people that shouldn't have been in the country. They start employing some of the really bad people. I'm not talking about the the guy who's been in the country for 10 years and has been doing everything right and has been going to all of his meetings. I'm talking about the guys who are actually the rapists, actually the murderers, the people that want to go and do these things to people and are probably doing it without getting paid. I think ultimately that's where you're going to end up going if you can't fulfill the billions and billions and billions of dollars that ICE has. There is a precedent for that you can dangle these things in front of people to fulfill your role. So I want people to just be careful of this, that you're seeing signs of this, right? Like when we're seeing our Democratic politicians voting on pro-ICE bills, pro-ICE funding, it's because they know this too, guys. They know that inevitably they're going to be in power. Gavin Newsom is their baby. Gavin Newsom is going to need ICE to start punching you guys in the face when you start complaining about rent too. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Be careful, because history doesn't repeat, but it sure as fuck rhymes.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and it's I think like the point, like I try to like think about that a little bit more, and I realize I said it earlier, but maybe I feel like it's worth repeating that like a significant portion of the reason that history does what it does is because people become detached from the roots of the cause that occurred because they did not live through it, right? You want to talk about like well, we can use like the Haymarket riots as an example, right? The reason we have weekends, right? The reason we have the 8-hour workday is because people literally fucking died in Chicago over that.
Yep.
Right? And make no mistake, they had people like infiltrating those movements, starting those riots, right? And like, like there's for anybody that's seen One Battle After Another, which like, okay, mid politics, but pretty great movie, like all things considered, right? There's that scene.
My cousin Dave in the chat, and he's been telling me to watch that movie. My cousin Dave saying I would fucking love that movie.
It is a good movie, right? It's got like some it's a little lib coded, but like in general, it's a pretty great movie. Like just as far as like if you're just thinking about like, you know, the movie itself. But there's a scene where there's like a bunch of protesters and they're shouting at cops with riot shields and whatnot. And you hear Sean Penn's character basically be like, oh yeah, send out Eddie Van Halen. And the next thing you see is a guy in a Van Halen t-shirt. He comes out and he lights a Molotov cocktail and he throws it in front of the cops. Doesn't hit the cops, throws it on the ground in front of the cops. And that gives the pretense for the cops to basically completely violently crack down on the protesters. And like, it's important to understand like that even those violent situations are often created by people that are trying to cause it to get violent. And so like, this is the moment where I want to wrap back around and talk about like the here and now, which is that if you're looking at situations like what happened in Minnesota, right? You're looking at situations where you have ICE literally getting violent with peaceful protesters, observers, what have you. Okay? They are doing that specifically because they are trying to incite violence from us, right? If they do that, it will allow the opportunity for like constitutional crisis or for Donald Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act, which allows him to declare martial law, which suspends elections, right? This is all a strategy. So like the point is to not take the bait. Now, like I can understand anybody feeling like deep in their body, like a dude, like after a certain point, if you try to speak English with these people, but they're so uneducated that they don't even understand the definitions of the words, and you think that the only language that they will be able to communicate in is violence, then you have to communicate with them in the language they understand. Like, look, like I can wrap my head around that impulse, and I can empathize with the train of thought that allows you to get there, but you can't fall prey to that. Right? Not in this scenario, not in this moment, because that provides the exact context that your opposition wants you to participate in that allows them to take that next kernel of power from you and to subjugate you even further. Oh shit, I just lost your audio, bro. Am I coming through?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I was muted. Sometimes I make random noises here, so I try to make sure I'm like fucking just giving the other guest open space to talk and stuff. But I think you wrapped that up like really perfectly, and generally I think it is something difficult to navigate. It's something for me, it's been a difficult conversation, or not difficult. It's more of like navigating this idea of complying to a law enforcement right now that isn't following or doesn't have any kind of like oversight. Like something I think about a lot, right? Like my parents are older, and my dad has MS, and he's not the most limber person in the world. So like, what happens if he has an accent still? He's an American citizen. He has a passport, but it doesn't seem to matter to a lot of these ICE agents. But what happens if he gets thrown into a car or something?
Right.
And like what, like with and how are we supposed to differentiate between? Like when there is no real this is a very real question, right? I'm not like trying to fearmonger about ICE. There's enough real fear that you should have about ICE. But my question is, at what point does it become self-defense? Like at what point, like if a masked man is coming into my house and breaking down my doors, not showing me a warrant, has a gun, looks like ice, but I can't tell if it's ice. At what point am I fucking blasted? So I just blasted, you know, like at what point am I in my, and does it matter? That's the ultimate problem, that I could go out in a fucking blaze of gunfire, defending myself in the right way, you know, but will it matter in the end if they can make up anything that they want, if they can say anything that they want, if I am in constant fear of guys that just look like ice because I can't differentiate who is real and who is not.
Right.
And these are the questions that I grapple with, which is like, there's a compliance part of this, which is, because I've seen the take too, which I don't necessarily disagree with, which is like giving the Trump administration what they want, but at the same time is not giving them what they want as well. Isn't it both in a way, like what they want? I don't know what the answer is. I mean, it's something that I struggle with a lot. It's something that it's hard to navigate.
The point is to remember that it's sort of, at the moment, it's sort of lose-lose. Right? Like there's no, the actual solution is solidarity and connection with other people, right? That is like the actual, solution to this. I mean, it's like corny, but it's like the correct way that you fight hate is with love. And like, the idea is that like, we are way past a point, and like this is why I will endlessly hate the liberals for the rest of time, because what they did is they cornered so many people into a situation where we are going to be facing more Renee Goods and Alex Preddies, right? There is going to be life lost. There is going to be bloodshed over this, right? There is going to be a human cost to this. And it's incumbent upon us to remember every single person and to be willing, like, dude, there is a history of being willing to put your life on the line for situations. Now, that's not the same thing as being a martyr, right? It's about standing up for what you believe so much that you are willing to let your children's children sit in the shade of trees that you planted the seeds of, that you will never get to enjoy the shade of. And that's the point, is that this is an iterative process.
Oh, yeah.
This is very much so a long game. And it is important to internalize that we, sitting here right now, living in this time and space, may not ever be able to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Right? Like, I could eat a bullet tomorrow, and I would be grateful for whatever I did with my time here, whoever's mind I might have changed, whatever ideas that I was able to convey in the time that I had that inspired other people to stand up a little bit harder later, so that that needle could move a little bit further every single time. And that's how you win. And it's hard. It's a really hard thing to like sit with and accept and live with and be okay with. But that is like the greatest struggle that we are going to be facing as people that believe in like connectivity and love and care for our fellow human, regardless of what they look like or what their plumbing is or like what their accent sounds like all that shit, right? Like none of that is relevant. The point is that you want us to continue to exist and prosper and grow better and care for the world that we live in. That's the wraps on.
Yeah, and I think as millennials, I don't know, are you a millennial? I'm
am.
guessing you're a millennial too, right? Like
I certainly am.
As millennials, we are. I mean, I think the realization that we are the generation that is going to have the least amount of wealth, the least amount of power in terms of like a timeline, and that we have been through the fucking ringer, you know, like our generation has been through the fucking ringer with this economy, with society. And really, I do believe millennials are the answer. A millennial partnership with Gen Z is the answer here. I mean, convincing Gen Z that I talk about this with Paige all the time. Like, it's just like this kind of like theory crafting that I do about these kind of coalitions and these partnerships. And I wonder if it's more generational based too, because you could probably connect you could probably make like there's probably a correlation with like class and generation now too, right?
Yeah.
Like if the younger generations, I feel like, have less wealth than the generations before them. And I just feel like Gen Z and millennials have naturally like butted heads on a lot of things. But I think as a coalition, we could have the energy to make the changes that are required. And I think, again, we have to have, as millennials, our generation just needs to have the realization that we got fucked, man. Like, regardless of what happens, like, regardless of how much this gets better in our lifetime, it still won't be as good as all the other generations have had it, you know, like in a form. So I think it's a tough realization, but it is a realization, and it's a perspective change. It's not a comfortable perspective change, but I think it gives you purpose. I don't know, it gives you direction. And I think a lot of us could use direction and a North Star, inspiration, for lack of a better word. So.
Right. Exactly. All right, man. I'm about to be real. I got to get going. I got to feed my
that
animals.
Was great. Yeah. Absolutely. I gotta go fucking see, like, if I have shit to do tomorrow.
Oh God, yeah, I know. I feel you.
This was great. I love this. We should do this again. We should.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Like,
let me know.
It's a cool format.
Dude, yeah, this was
great. Thanks guys for coming.
Stuff.
You guys are the best.
Yeah, cheers, y'all. That was
we had a good group of people in Twitch talking. We have a few people in YouTube. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. This was
definitely
quality.
Definitely follow Carter's YouTube too. His interviews, his long form shit is great. Definitely give him a follow. He's awesome.
And I just, like, I keep having to bump this. I did this piece, and I plan on doing more just like it. But I have like a shorter 15-minute research video about the relationship of the weapons industry in New Hampshire, politics, and the labor force. And I encourage everybody to check it out, because if you don't, like, I spoke a little bit earlier this evening about sort of like the relationship between local issues and foreign policy. And that particular video does a good, in my opinion, does a pretty decent job of illustrating the degree to which those things are connected. So like that is one video that I would encourage people to watch. Definitely check out my interviews. I put a bunch of work in on that. I've got some good ones coming up. So stay tuned. Sort of in talks with, I think, 350 and New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute. So definitely some more coming out of that. I'm doing my best to try and get some like college professors on, people like that, so that we can actually pull academia into this a little bit as well. So, there's a couple different avenues to follow there. But yeah, definitely check it out, you guys.
Absolutely. And look out for our future. We're talking about doing gaming streams together too, guys.
Yeah,
so like,
dude.
definitely look out for that in the future. We're going to try to bring a whole bunch of things to these channels. So I appreciate you guys, man. Have a good Friday.
Cheers. Take care, y'all.
September 8th, primary day. Bye, guys.
Get in it.